win, go win, go win, go win, go win, man, go win.
Let's go out to Minnesota and let's talk about the Minnesota Vikings beat down over the Cincinnati Bengals Sunday afternoon in Minnesota, and it was not pretty. The Minnesota Vikings dismantled the Cincinnati Bengals 48-10 for the Bengals. Jake Browning, he went 19 for 27. He threw for 140 passing yards, 1 touchdown, 2 interceptions for the Vikings. Carson Wentz, he went 14 for 20. He threw for 173 passing yards, 2 touchdowns. Jordan Mason, 16 carries, 106 receiving yards, 2 touchdowns. And Isaiah Rodgers, the defensive back for the Vikings, he deserves to be shouted out as I do my statistics for this game. This brother had 2 passes defensed, 1 interception, 2 forced fumbles, 1 fumble recovery. He had 2 defensive touchdowns. And Isaiah Rodgers, he's the second player in NFL history with an interception and fumble return for a touchdown of 60 yards in a single game. And he becomes the first defensive player in Vikings franchise history to score 2 touchdowns in a single game. So, before I break down this game, I'm in First Energy Stadium in Cleveland, and I'm sitting there watching the Packers-Browns game, and obviously we were in a battle with the Browns. Ultimately, we lost that game, but I was looking up at the scoreboard, and I'm looking at the scoreboard, and I see the Vikings, they go up 7-0 in the first quarter. I thought nothing of it. And then they go up 14-0, and I'm thinking, the Bengals may have a chance to come back in this game. They're only down 2 scores. If they can put a drive together, they can get back into this game. And then the Vikings, they kick a field goal in the second quarter, and it just went completely downhill from there for the Bengals. The Bengals in this game, the Vikings outscored the Bengals 34-3. And I'm sitting there in First Energy Stadium, and I'm thinking to myself as I'm looking up at the scoreboard, I'm thinking to myself, that got to be a misprint. Like, I'm thinking to myself, like, maybe somebody, the Browns and the Bengals are, rivals in the AFC North, and they always battle each other for the Battle of Ohio. And so I'm thinking maybe the Browns organization, they're being funny, and they're posting that the Bengals are getting beat by the Vikings 34-3 at halftime. Maybe they're just being funny and they're just trying to, mess with fans. No, I got on my phone on the score app, and the same score that I seen on this big scoreboard in First Energy Stadium was the same score I seen in my phone on the score app. And the Vikings dominated the Bengals this entire game. The Vikings, they outscored the Bengals 34-3 in the first half. And they outscored the Bengals 14-7 in the second half. And the thing is, after we lost against the Browns, I got family and friends blowing my phone up. They blowing my phone up like, oh, y'all just lost to the Browns. Y'all lost to the Browns by a game-winning field goal. How could you lose to the Browns? Listen. Good teams lose games they're supposed to win in the NFL. That's normal. What's not normal is being down 34-3 at halftime. What's not normal is being down 48-3 heading into the fourth quarter. What's not normal is getting completely beat down 48-10 and getting your ass kicked for 4 straight quarters. That is abnormal. So, Bengal fans, please do not try and compare the Packers losing to the Browns on a game-winning field goal at the last second because we all know it's the NFL. It's any given Sunday. And good teams lose to teams that they are supposed to beat. It's the NFL. That is normal. What is abnormal is being down 34-3 at halftime and being down 48-3 heading into the fourth quarter and getting your ass kicked 48-10, traveling up to Minnesota. And I got some friends that traveled up to Minnesota for that game. And that was a completely wasted trip. Now, the kids had fun. The kids had fun. And the experience for the kids going to a football game in Minnesota, getting a chance to experience the Vikings' new stadium, that was great for the children. But that was a wasted trip for Bengal fans who decided to travel to Minnesota for that game. And it is abnormal to get your ass kicked by 38 points in a football game. I just want to get that out there. Now, Isaiah Rodgers was balling Sunday. And for me, I'm going to just go ahead and tell y'all right now, Isaiah Rodgers is my best performer in week 3. This brother had the game of his life. 2 passes defense, 1 interception, 2 forced fumbles, 1 fumble recovery, 2 defensive touchdowns. Isaiah Rodgers, he looked like the second coming to Deion Sanders out there, for crying out loud. I didn't know if that was Deion or Isaiah out there. That's how great Isaiah played in this football game. And he had a major impact for the Minnesota Vikings all game long. The one play where he literally took the football away from Noah Fant, that was a sensational play by Rodgers. A sensational play. And so, for me, the Vikings defense won them this game even more so than their offense. I mean, offensively, they didn't have to really do much. Overall, offensively, the Vikings had 169 rushing yards, 183 passing yards, 352 total yards of offense for the game. And they really didn't have to do much offensively because Isaiah Rodgers said, "Hold my beer, I got us today." And this brother was balling. And I think, honestly, and I said this Sunday, that might be the greatest defensive performance I've ever seen. That might be the greatest defensive performance I have ever seen. 2 forced fumbles, 1 interception, 2 defensive touchdowns from Isaiah Rodgers. Man, he had the game of his life out there. He was balling, but this was just a bad game all around for the Bengals. And I saw a frustrated Jamar Chase walking back to the Bengals locker room after the game, and he was very, very frustrated. You could tell he was upset. And this was the Vikings just completely dismantled the Bengals in this game. I mean, the Bengals, they literally they were a no-call, no-show. And to me, let me say this too. Let me be very, very clear about this. The entire Cincinnati Bengals football team and coaching staff, they did not deserve to get a paycheck for their week 3 performance against the Vikings. They didn't deserve to get a paycheck. They honestly all should have had to carpool back home. They should not have been allowed back on that flight home to Cincinnati after that performance. That's how bad the Bengals were in this game against the Minnesota Vikings. And here's the thing about the game itself. I don't view the Vikings like a Super Bowl contender like I view the Packers or the Rams or the Buccaneers or the Eagles in the NFC. Or even if you go to the AFC, I don't view the Vikings like the Bills or the Ravens. I know they are 1 and 2, but I don't view the Vikings in the same realm as those teams that I just named. And the Bengals go out there and you get steamrolled by the Vikings by 38 points. 38 points. Look, I'm not so sure that the Bengals are going to be able to recover from this loss. Honestly, I believe that Bengal fans, y'all got to be traumatized after watching that game. You got to be traumatized. And I know the Bengals are 2-1 on the season, but To me, the Bengals have not outplayed none of their three opponents so far this season in the Browns, Jags, or Vikings. I know they're 2-1, but they should have lost against the Browns and the Jags in weeks 1 and weeks 2. They lost Burrow in week 2 against the Jags, and I know Bengal fans are watching this game thinking it is going to be a long season, and I could not agree more, because when I look at the Bengals schedule, the next 4 games, Broncos, Lions, Packers, Steelers. These are the Bengals' next 4 games. Broncos, Lions, Packers, Steelers. The Bengals, after those 4 games, they could be 2-5. They could be 2-5. Seriously. So, man, I know Bengal fans are watching that game thinking it's going to be a long season. No Joe Burrow. And it has gotten late, early here in the Queen City. I know they 2-1. They are 2-1, but their next 4 games, Broncos, Lions, Packers, Steelers, to me are all 4 games they will lose. They will lose all 4 of those games, and they will be 2-5 as they head into their week 8 matchup. I'm not sure who that game's against, but I'll look at it. But man, that was a bad performance all around from the Cincinnati Bengals, and they got to figure something out. They got to figure something out. And I mean, every stat in this game, the Vikings, they won every stat. Vikings had 22 first downs, Bengals had 12. The Vikings had 169 rushing yards, the Bengals had 53. The Vikings had 183 passing yards, the Bengals had 118. The Vikings had 352 total yards of offense, the Bengals had 171 total yards of offense. The Bengals threw 2 interceptions, the Vikings threw 0 interceptions. The Bengals lost 5 fumbles, the Vikings lost 1 fumble. Okay? The Vikings they won time of possession as well. So everywhere you look on the stat sheet, and as you watch this game, the Vikings dominated the Bengals. And it was just a bad overall performance from the Bengals. But man, those next 4 weeks for the Bengals, that's going to determine the Bengals season. They're in Denver this week in week 4. Week 5, they're home against the Lions. Week 6, they are in Lambeau against the Packers. And week 7, they are home against the Steelers on a Thursday night game. And I believe the Broncos, Lions, Packers, and Steelers all are going to beat the Bengals. And after the first 7 weeks of the season, the Cincinnati Bengals will be 2-5. But, man, this was just a all-around horrific performance. And, again, please don't ever compare the Packers losing to the Browns, because good teams lose to teams that they're supposed to beat in the NFL every week. It's any given Sunday. But that's normal. That's a normal thing to happen. But what's abnormal is getting beat down by 38 points. That is abnormal, and that does not happen in the NFL. But Bengals are on to Denver in week 4, a Monday night matchup in Denver at Mile High Stadium against Bo Nix and the Denver Broncos. A big game for both teams.